Full disclosure, the meeting is being recorded today. Dion Major here with Reva from Vidyard. And for our second session on using video, not only in prospecting, but throughout the sales funnel as well to kind of keep the momentum going. We are running a contest. We have a slew of goodies that we're offering everybody, but the one that we think is going to really capture everybody's attention is Reva, take it away.
A ring light, which I have, and ever since I got it, it's great. So if you're ever working late at night or you're just working in a place that's dimly lit, it's great for even Zoom calls, just like having a nice lighting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good stuff. All right. For those of you that didn't join us on the first session, we did talk about prospecting and using video in there. That session was recorded. We will send out a single email once we have all of the recordings. This session is being recorded as well. And so really what we're talking about today is using video as a medium in addition to a lot of the other mediums you're using in your sequences and your outreach as well, right? Vidyard is an amazing platform for this. So without further ado, we are going to jump right in, and I'm going to turn it over to Reva. Thank you again for joining us today.
Yes. Okay. I'm so excited. If you want to type into the chat, if you're in full cycle sales, for instance, if you're maybe not even in a sales role, maybe more customer success, would love to hear about it. And I'm going to start sharing my screen. All right, and I'm just going to open the chat so I can see. There we go. So yeah, today we're going to be talking all about using video beyond just prospecting. So how can you accelerate and close your deals? Before I get into it, there was a study done by Trust Radius, I think it is, in 2021. So a pretty recent study where they found that like every single stage of the sales cycle in B2B sales right now is taking longer than it ever has before. And that just means our deals are taking longer. And so if you're in sales, you know, time kills all deals. If we can get our deals closed faster, that's always better. And so we're going to talk today about how you can use video to do that. So I'm seeing sales role new in the sales world for Tiffany. That's great. Working towards full sales. Got sales training and business development, sales ops, full cycle. So maybe these are some ideas you can take away afterwards and share with your team. So videos can be used throughout the sales process to really connect, build relationships, keep educating your buyers throughout. And I personally think competitively differentiate yourself. When you're speaking to a buyer, you're probably in a competitive scenario, or you're competing for that person's time and attention and budget with other vendors that might be contacting them. So any way that you can sort of differentiate yourself and also like lead with true value is a great idea and puts you in a good position. What I don't want you to come away with today is like replace all of your meetings with asynchronous video, because I think that'd be a really bad idea. But we want to talk about how you can pepper in asynchronous. So what I mean by asynchronous is like making a Vidyard video, for instance, before and after live meetings that you get on. So if you traditionally go through you've got like an intro discovery call, then you might do a demo or a proof of concept or a technical conversation. Then you go towards like pricing and things of that nature. Let me know if there's any other steps in your sales process in the chat. Those are really important meetings to have live and hear feedback, see reactions, things like that. However, before and after those meetings, you could be setting yourself up on a better foot if you use async video. So one example could be like sending the agenda ahead of time of what you're going to be talking about, or recapping things. So try to think about, as we go through this content, how you could use video to get some face time with someone when you're not actually being live with them. So the first example we'll walk through is like custom demos, walkthrough videos, update videos. So if you have a visual product, think about how you can record custom demos to show exactly what they're interested in. I'll use an example from myself, but if I have a discovery call, an initial discovery call, and they're going to talk to some people internally after we spoke, and I heard some key interests, like maybe they were interested in learning more about how HubSpot uses video in their sales process. After that call, I will pull up my customer testimonial video article about how HubSpot uses video. And I'll walk through it talking about what they did and giving some context to that story and send that along as a nurture. It also allows you to, like, instead of following up and saying, hey, like just checking in on how things are going, you can send something a bit more valuable with that check-in.
Don't do the check-in.
Just checking in to check in. But so think about how you can have that content, and also think about how, from an efficiency perspective, how can you make that content and repurpose it? So can you record a little custom demo that doesn't say the person's name or company, and that way you can reuse over and over again. When we talk about like a crawl, walk, run approach to video strategy and sales, the run of what Vidyard is doing, for instance, is if you can get your technical or solutions consulting or marketing team to pitch in and give you some really great video content to put in your library, that's even better, because I know personally, I've got, 30 or 40 little 3-minute videos about different integrations or features of Vidyard that are all in a library for me. And now all I have to do is just pick which video makes sense and send it along. So that's the kind of the run of that. Some other examples of walkthrough content is pricing information, competitive comparisons, frequently asked questions. If you find you are pointing out the same things over and over again, or covering the same ground on discovery calls, maybe you're always clarifying something about your product, or a question comes up all the time, think about making a video that addresses that and proactively addressing it, so that when you have that 30-minute session with your customer, your prospect, you're not taking 7 minutes of that time to clarify something that you find you're always clarifying. Instead, you've covered that, and now we can get into like deeper strategy discussions.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important, Reva, because we spend so much time doing recap, number one. Number two, not all of us are great at writing, and maybe sometimes we procrastinated and we don't do it and all that good stuff, versus being able to verbally walk through an agenda or verbally walk through a recap can be significantly easier, right? So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. So here, getting deeper into like proposal videos, I wouldn't really recommend suddenly never getting live to go through pricing. You definitely want to read the room, see how the reaction was, be able to clarify things. But myself as an account executive, even as recently as last week, I had a call to discuss pricing scheduled. And then a few days before the call, my champion messaged me and said, hey, can you send us like high level pricing information ahead of the call so we have some time to digest it? And initially I might have felt like, oh, but then I'm going to show all my cards and then maybe you'll say no. So I used a video to kind of go through some high level information. I want to be forthcoming and helpful, but I also still want to have some dialogue, especially when presenting pricing. So I was able to like kind of give what my buyer needed, but also get what I needed too, because I was able to see as soon as she watched the video. So I knew she watched it. I was prepared. Maybe I'm going to get an email from her asking some questions. And that way I knew on Monday we had covered some ground, and now we could get a little bit further in our conversation. Right. So think about how you can do that with your proposals, for instance, to make your live meetings a bit more meaningful. Another thing I'll talk about is just the fact that we're often not selling to a single person. Stakeholder group B2B decisions typically on average take between 6 to 8 people making that decision. So if you are speaking to one person and they are often going back and having internal meetings, maybe you're not in those internal meetings, think about how you can use video to make it easier on your champion to sell this concept internally. I'll give an example that I had a champion. He mentioned, like, we want to buy Vidyard. I'm meeting this VP who I never speak to. I've got 15 minutes on the calendar with him next week. And I need a video from you talking about how this is going to help our team. Of course, as a sales rep, I asked like, hey, can I be part of that meeting? He said, no, it's 15 minutes. He's calling me directly. So I said, okay. So I made him that video and I saw it got watched, and that's how you can enable your champion. Make it easier for them. You're the kind of expert in your field. If you're expecting them to fully get your story and how you can help, and then relay that to people internally, that's kind of a bad strategy, because broken telephone does exist and they're probably going to muddle the message a bit. So make it super easy on your buyer.
That's a really good point too. For those of you that have not played this telephone game in a while, highly recommend it, right, Reva? That's a really great point, right? As we verbally walk through things and we think everybody's got it. And so I don't know about you, that's why I'm a huge fan of the teach back component when we're training, right? It's one of those things where you're teaching a concept and you look at that other person and you say, hey, tell me what you just heard.
Love it. Yes.
In your own words.
Yeah.
Right? And so to your point, we need to make it easy on our buyers, because there is always more than one, right? And we just need to make it easy. And so
totally right.
Video is a one-to-many way to deliver the same message, and we're not leaving it open to interpretation. That's a really, really valid point.
Yeah. And you're not losing anything by doing this, because you get those analytics. Yeah. So if you made that video and you notice no one watched it, well, then you know that maybe you've got to call your champion and ask, like, did that meeting happen? And I've used that as a way to gauge. And she said, oh, it got canceled, it got pushed to Thursday. That's a really nice kind of way to keep your pulse on what's going on when you're not there.
Yeah, sorry. One other thing too is you can always ask now, right? For if you're in the trenches and stuff and they're going into a meeting, we should be asking questions about buying process, buying cycle, decision-making process. And as a sales professional, we can ask, hey, would it be helpful if you're going into a meeting with your team to have, a 10-minute video or 15-minute video that everybody can watch, that would get everybody on the same page. And then you and I can follow up afterwards, right?
That's exactly it.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's exactly it. I love that. And I think it takes more time on your end as a sales rep. Now you have to go make that video, but that is being valuable and helpful, right? Yeah. So it might take more time, but then you become like a trusted advisor, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're guiding people through the process, and we're proactively, I'm not a fan of that word, but we're thoughtfully guiding people, right? And that's the name of the game, is in establishing a relationship, is giving and being of service and doing, right? Doing things for people that make their lives easier. So I think that's a good thing. Love it.
Yeah, that's great. So here is another fun one, I think. If you are an SDR or a BDR and you often set up meetings for an account executive, or if you're an AE and maybe you often bring in a solutions consultant or your director, or you're introducing customer success when you finally close the deal, there's so many opportunities of handoff in a sales cycle. And those handoffs can make people feel like uncomfortable with what's going to happen next. For instance, maybe you've spent 6 months with your buying group and now suddenly they're being introduced to customer success. Maybe they're worried about, are they going to understand why we bought, all the questions they may have. So this makes it really nice and personal. I've had such a great time working with you over the last 6 months. I'm so excited to introduce you to Steve. He's going to be your customer success manager. He's going to be reaching out with a video of his own. It's just such a nice experience, and it really lets your buyer feel like just because you close the deal doesn't mean you're done with them. You're really taking care of them. Similarly with SDRs, like just saying, okay, even if you record a quick video that is not personalized, and I mean, it could be personalized, because recording a quick video, when you do these over and over again, you can get them done so fast. But saying, had a great chat with you today. I'm so excited for you to talk to Steve. He's the account executive, who's going to be going deeper into what we talked about, letting them know that like you're not going to have to repeat anything on that next call. Steve knows what's up. And then Steve responding and saying, I'm looking forward to meeting you. That's just like competitively, if your buyer is looking at alternatives and that's what you're doing, that's putting you in a way better position to win that deal. Other easy ones are like thank you email videos, congrats. If you see someone raised funding, acquired a company, made some exciting announcement, just send them a video letting them know you saw it with a no ask, just saying, hey, I saw that come across my radar. That's so awesome. Congrats. Hope you guys are celebrating, or whatever the case might be. If anyone is on the post-sale side, another great way of using video and leading with value again is like giving them almost a QBR or an update on how they're doing in the platform or with your product or service. So if you could just send them a 5-minute video and say, hey, I noticed that, even if you're running a proof of concept in sales, hey, I noticed that 20 people signed in. That's great. They've all accepted their invite. Really looking forward to talking about how we can tackle XYZ next. These are all some ideas on how you can start to use video throughout that sales cycle. All right, so talking about how we can amplify your sales videos and help you from like a best practices perspective be really amazing on camera. I'm sure a lot of you already are, because we're so used to being on Zoom calls all the time. So you probably have your like setup and you know how to put your camera in the right angle, but just some tips in case this would help. So number one, if you're really gonna think about making video content for your sales process, make sure that you feel good about it. So create like a studio environment that you love. This is my studio environment. I like my background. I think it's clean. I think I don't personally use virtual backgrounds, but maybe if I was in a place where I didn't love my background, I might use a virtual background, or if I want to like hide anything. But I think like I have a dedicated space. There's no kids' toys or anything here, and I can show my background. Kids' toys are over there. So that's number one. Number two, dedicated camera at eye level. You want to make sure you're not too close, because this actually makes, it's funny, and I don't know where I heard this, but that actually comes through as like being too in the person's space. Like if you were speaking too closely to someone at an event, like I didn't realize that digitally that also comes through, where you're just like a little bit too close, but you also don't want to be too far. So find that nice, maybe 2 feet or 1.5 feet of distance between you and your camera. Lighting. If you are in a room where you've got a window in the back, that's probably going to make you a little bit dark. So think about investing in a ring light, or even a lamp if you can bring it in and close to your workspace. That's a great idea. A clear microphone. I use these headphones. If you have over the head headphones, whatever that might be. If you're in a quiet environment, like you're home all day alone and no one's doing dishes or something, don't wear headphones. That's totally fine too. There's also some free tools out there. I just downloaded a tool called Crisp this week. I don't know if anyone's heard of Crisp. I'll put it in the chat. And it suppresses background noise, which is really cool. And the reason I downloaded it actually was because when I was making videos, I was noticing that it sounded very echoey, and I didn't know why though. And when I downloaded Crisp, it takes the echo away. So highly recommend that.
Cool.
Yeah. And then, yeah, like a background, like if you've got like a mascot or something, or some signage that you want to bring in, I've seen people do that as well. So you can see like Tyler, he's our VP of marketing here. He brought in like a nice plant in the background. He's got VBot. He's got this little word board that's promoting an event that we're hosting. So think about ways you can make your background feel good.
Yeah. One of the gentlemen, a colleague of mine, they had different slides in the background, right? Because think if you're presenting or having a conversation, as much as we like to think it's easy to have a conversation digitally, right, and maintain eye contact and all that good stuff, it's still kind of hard. And even when we're one-on-one with folks as in person, our eyes still wander. And so I agree with you, Reva. I think it's situational, right? And so sometimes if you're on a sales call or even just a conversation, you can have a background that can reinforce the message you're delivering, right? So might not be a bad idea. Whether it's you can create Zoom backgrounds or whatever, you know, in Canva, or there's a bunch of different ways to do it, I'm sure. So the goal of video is to connect and communicate, create a relationship, start a relationship, reinforce the messaging, right? So I'm not saying we all need to turn into movie producers, but recognize that we're delivering a visual representation of our verbal words,
Mm-hmm.
our verbalization. So that was
Mm-hmm.
right. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a great opportunity to bring some creativity too, if that's what you feel like you want to do, make a background, and think about what is on that background. That's great.
Be mindful of that.
Yes. Creativity within reason.
Absolutely.
So some tips for like building confidence, because I've been doing videos in my sales process for 6 years now. I kind of forget what it felt like to not be confident in it. But the biggest like thing that makes me feel good about making videos is that I mess up all the time, and all I have to do is press restart. It's so much better than being on a Zoom call where I'm like, oh gosh, this is going sideways. I just press restart and it deletes and I get to try again. So no reason not to be confident. You can take as many takes as you need, but here are some tips to make you feel even better when you're recording video. So number one, be conversational and expressive. I think all of us in sales are in sales because we like to speak to people. We're curious, we're interested. And so let that be felt in your videos. Be conversational, meaning don't be robotic. And that comes from practice and knowing what you'd like to say. So it may feel robotic in the beginning where you might be reading a script, and I'm not against scripts. They can make you feel confident and ready and like you've got you're prepared. However, it might take you 5 or 6 or 7 times to read that script to make it sound conversational at least. Be expressive. If you use your hands, like if that's your natural tendency, then use your hands in your videos. If you sit like this and it feels very weird to sit still, then don't do that. Like lean into your personality. It takes a little bit more expression to actually come across as expressive through video. So sometimes when you feel like you're being a little over the top, you're probably being just enough. If anyone's a performer or a dancer, you've probably heard that too. You have to like, might feel a little bit weird, but it's probably just coming off normal.
For those of our theater majors on the call turned sales professionals,
which I feel like there's a big group of people that have done that, like have been in theater or something and now are in sales.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are performing, right? I don't care what we say. And a colleague of mine, he's a very, very successful industry leader. And we were talking about extroverts versus introverts. And I said, well, you kind of seem a little bit of an extrovert. He goes, oh no, I put the uniform on.
Oh.
I was like, there's something to be said for that, right? I mean, I think we talked about situational awareness before and kind of scenarios and stuff. We have to recognize the situation we're going into and kind of what that means for us and how we need to show up too, I think is the other half of the coin. So
yes. And how you need to show up is so true, because if you don't sound excited or invested, that's not great. You have to like get that across so that your champion and the people that you're talking to are also getting excited about the ideas that you're bringing forth. So that's number one, show your passion. Number two is it's all about connection and not perfection. It's okay to try to take a few takes because you're really messing up your message or something like that. But if you've got a few ums or uhs, or you pause to kind of collect your thoughts, that's actually just very human. And it makes you seem more relatable, likable. And so think about including it sometimes. I know some people actually do it on purpose just to not sound like they're so perfectly scripted. So shoot and share, just like do it, take it. If there's a few issues in it, just keep it and just send it. But that comes with preparing your message. So that's not the same as recording a video that you hoped was going to be 60 seconds. It turns out that it's 3.5 minutes and you're kind of rambling on and you're going to send it anyways. I wouldn't recommend that. There, I would recommend a redo and try again, but little mistakes are totally fine to keep in. Another tip, especially as you're building your confidence, is use screen shares. So screen shares with your camera in the bottom left, that's like you're still on camera, but a little bit smaller, and that can feel a little bit safer. So you don't always have to be speaking directly to the camera. And then practice. I think another big thing, especially me working with our customers, when I see people have not put a valid effort in before they write off video, that can kind of do you a disservice, because you never know, video could really impact your sales cycle once you find out where to use it and how. But if you only make like 4 videos and then you say, I didn't get any views, or I didn't really like that, and you don't try again, I would really recommend doing something like holding yourself accountable to making 10 videos a day for 3 weeks or something like that, where you give yourself a good chance to make it work for you. All right, so yes, you're now a video creator, you're a content creator. So how to record, share, and track videos at scale. Oh, you know what? I think there are a few slides missing, but I will say, if you have downloaded Vidyard today, like you probably did it either before our first session or after Tuesday's session, and you've made some videos and sent them to Dion and I, you probably have seen that you've got an analytics, you've got a video view notification. So you can chime in the chat if you have seen that. But when you record a video, the first recommendation I would make is, if you're using Gmail or if you're using Outlook, make sure that Vidyard is integrated with those tools, because we have integrations with those tools that make it easier to access your library of content and actually share directly from those platforms. The second piece is, from a tracking perspective, you're going to be able to, when you send it in that manner, when you send it through like the Gmail integration, for instance, when someone watches it, you're going to get an email notification saying, Reva has watched 80% of your video, for instance. You're also going to get that notification right in this extension. So you're going to get a little one, and when you click on it, it's going to tell you who watched what video. So keep that in mind as you start sending these videos out, and think about how you're going to use those analytics to inform what you do next. So if I was a BDR and I sent a prospecting video to someone and I saw they watched the video, I'd probably be following up with a phone call or an email saying, thanks so much for watching my video. Like, I hope you found it helpful, and use those analytics to determine what you do next in your sales cycle. Right, I just think we may have one question.
Yeah.
What's your USP? I'm not familiar with that acronym. If anyone wants to clarify, or Dion, do you know what USP is?
Unique selling proposition or value proposition. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So Loom is a very similar product in terms of like creating video. Unique selling proposition, there's, I would say, quite a few. I'd say see which you like better. I think Loom has, for instance, some limits on maybe length of video or how many videos you can create. I think if you want the analytics on who's watched your video, the recipient may need to be like a Loom user or something like that. So there are some kind of limitations there, but in terms of like downloading the tool today and creating a video really quickly, you can do that with both Vidyard and Loom. And Loom is a great product for easy creation of video as well. From like if we're talking like, are your teams looking for Vidyard or a video tool across your sales team? That's where we're going to talk more about like the training and implementation services that Vidyard brings to the table, because we do really want to make sure that your team has like the best practices and tools to actually use video effectively. So that's what I would say there.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Reva, on that. You know, wherever we go, whatever we do, right? There's always pros and cons to everything, whether you're picking out a car, you're picking out a platform. And I think, Reva, what we're hearing and saying is, um, you know, test and measure for yourself, test and measure for your organization. And at the end of the day, it's really about, in this case, and when we're talking about video, incorporating video into your communication mediums with your clients to establish a relationship. I'm a fan of doing what works. And there's so many good things out there. Vidyard is one of them, right? Everybody should test and measure at the end of the day.
I think that's a really fair point. No, I think that's a fair point. And I think if I can bring that into test and measuring on where you use video in your sales cycle is another kind of piece of advice I would give, because there are some people who find it works really well for meeting follow-ups. Other people find it works really well for sharing demo content. You might find it doesn't work well there. So you have to find, you're not going to use video on every single step of your sales cycle. So you've got to find like where it makes the most sense to use, for sure.
Be strategic with it, right? Have a plan before you start executing.
Yes. Yes. All right. So we're into the video challenge.
Yeah.
So we did get quite a few videos after Tuesday's class. So thank you so much. But now that you know all about how you can use video in your longer sales cadence or throughout your sales cycle, we want you to give this a chance now. So Tuesday's session was all about prospecting. We got some great prospecting videos. Now we want to talk about a video, or see an example from you guys on a video that you might send to a prospect at some point in the sales cycle beyond just prospecting. If you are in a purely prospecting role though, and that's what you do, and you want to like try again or test something different out, keep going on that.
The more the merrier.
Yeah. And then yes, please send to Dion and I by July 19th, which is Monday, for entering into the challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, winners will be receiving a ring light, which is amazing. And we have a few other goodies and prizes as well that we will share. So, but I think from what I understand, that's kind of the big one. So, yeah.
Yes, I know as soon as I went working from home, like any sort of goodies I could have to like make my home setup a bit better, I was like, yes, please give me that.
Yeah, and again, you know, what we're talking about here is, you know, be inviting, be personable, connect with your audience, all that good stuff, make it relevant. And people that haven't seen video before yet, people on the receiving end of your video may not have had this experience before. So how exciting that you may be the first person to introduce video as an outreach mechanism to folks. So no pressure, but make it good and make it good from an experience perspective for people, right? So go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, no, these are just some kind of summarizing what we talked about, but ideas on what you could actually use. So maybe it's like a pre-agenda setup, a post-meeting recap, proposal walkthroughs. Maybe it's walking through a customer testimonial that you use quite a bit. So think about sending us one of those. Again, keep the video to a maximum of 60 seconds. What I would say here, though, is I would recommend keeping it to a maximum of 60 to 90 seconds for prospecting videos. But when you get deeper into the sales cycle and you're starting to build a relationship with someone, you also open the opportunity to make slightly longer pieces of content, because at this point, you've heard what they're trying to solve, challenges, and you've got some runway to maybe record a 2, 3, 4, 5-minute video.
Yeah, it is all about the relationship, right? So we need to be aware, you know, we're kind of back to that concept of self-awareness and just situational awareness as well, right? So what do we think people would enjoy, and ask?
Yeah.
Right? So ask your client and say, I know we're kind of in the middle of this email exchange and conversation. As much as I like having a pen pal, are you open to receiving a video? Right. And that might make it easier. And so that's where we talk about kind of injecting and introducing our own kind of sense of humor. We don't always have to be super business formal, which is my default. I've learned to be fun as I've gotten older, but not too fun. So, you know, just your own medium, your own voice. And what does that look like? Because again, it's all about connecting. And quite frankly, it's okay if somebody's going to come back to us and say, not right now, or no, because we have a decision, right? We don't want to be pursuing somebody who doesn't want to be pursued, quite frankly, either. So let's, again, be mindful of it and be mindful of our outreach and our efforts and what we're trying to do with our efforts, right? So just some other food for thought.
Yeah, these are great tips for sure. Oh, what is a ring light, Mandy? Yes. I don't know if mine will stretch to show you.
Is it the circle light?
Yeah, it's like, if anyone knows about YouTube creators, that's where I knew about ring lights, but it's like a circle light.
Yeah.
And it just gives you a perfect amount of equal lighting so that you don't look too dark. I know the one I have has like warm lighting and cool lighting. So yeah, just gives you good lighting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. It's a very amazing tool. So lighting has come a long way for sure. All right, everybody, any final questions? Put in the Q&A, put in the chat. Any questions?
And I'll just make sure if anyone is interested, we do have like some free resources online as well. So if you want to see some examples of videos, you can go to our Sales Inspiration Hub. Let me exit out of here so I can actually get the link, but there are some like examples of videos from other people that might give you some food for thought.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys, we're not alone here, right? So sometimes we will get overwhelmed with something new because we think we have to figure it out on our own. And the good news is that this block that we're all trying to walk around, a lot of folks have already built for us. So we'll never condone plagiarism. However, we should absolutely look at some examples of what other people have done to give us some ideas and then turn around and make it our own for sure. So Reva put the link in the chat for everybody. So definitely take a look at that. And again, test and measure what resonates with your particular client base, right? And so this is where if you're working with marketing and they give you some persona information or case studies, it's our responsibility as sales professionals to really turn that into messaging that resonates with our buyers. So this is a really, really great opportunity to test and measure, connect with our buyers, connect with our clients, and turn around and use that information back internally, right? So it's all about speed and velocity and connection. There's so many good things that can come out of this if and when we do it the right way with the right attitude and the right mindset. Thank you for the feedback.
I'm like leaving feeling very inspired.
That's the name of the game, right? So we're here and we have chosen this path and we've chosen this profession. And with Reva, with Vidyard, we're being introduced to a whole new, for some of us, a whole new medium of being able to connect, right? So let's embrace it, let's do it, and make it good, because we are attracted, right, to confidence. We're attracted to people that make it easy for us. And so, and I'm speaking in a professional setting. So, right. And so in this context, we want to be able to say, hey, Reva, thanks so much for reaching out. I know this may not be the right time. However, we'd love to have an initial conversation, right? So make your list of keywords that you want to, if you're looking to start a relationship with a potential buyer, what are some keywords that you think are going to trigger a response, right? Initial, simple, easy. Be yourself, saying, hey, you know what? I'm not going to send you a contract after our conversation. We really want to start a relationship. Right? So what are those look like for you? And then pour some energy into what you're doing with it. Get people to respond to you, right? And just be super clear, set expectations, and go from there and send us your videos. So on Tuesday is our final session. And it's going to be more of a fireside chat between Tuesday session and today's session. Just a big Q&A, right? So come prepared with your Q&A. If you're okay sharing your video with everybody who's registered, please let us know. But I would also say that you created the video and it's out in the internet ether. So there for everybody, whether you like it or not. So we want to be mindful and thoughtful. So if you do not want us to share your video, please let us know that as well, okay? How long is too long? Yeah, Reva.
Yeah, so I would say for an initial email, like an initial video, 30 to 90 seconds. The way I speak, if I were to do 30 seconds, I really am not getting enough value across, but also the way I speak, like I really need to be mindful and not go past 90. So 30 to 90 seconds, I think you'll usually end up around 60 to 75 for a first video. But as you get deeper into the sales cycle, you buy yourself more time to make longer form content.
Absolutely. So this is being recorded, but I will also say that for us at Inside Sales by Design, when we work with clients, and even when I was a practitioner with teams, we have a formula. And it's, hi, my name is, the reason I'm calling is, you're going to find this interesting because here's what we're doing next. It doesn't have to be those exact words, but that's a good outline. So I'm going to repeat it because I know we're being recorded right now. So it's, hi, this is Dion from Inside Sales by Design. I'm reaching out because you might find this interesting because, and here's what we're going to do next. Right? So, hi, I'm Joe from the Crab Shack. The reason I'm calling you is you might find this interesting because here's what we're going to do next. So you can use that as a frame of reference for yourself and then, wordsmith it as appropriate. Reva, any thoughts on that?
I think that is like exactly in line with what our sample scripting is for video too. And so
Yeah,
it is recorded. Revisit the recording if you have to write it down and kind of treat it like Mad Libs a little bit, like just
absolutely.
Put in your information in all the blanks that Dion just mentioned, and then try to make it fit 60 to 75. And then you've made a very good video.
Absolutely. Last question we have about using captions and subtitles. Yeah.
Yes. I am not sure, like with our packaging, if captioning comes with our free tool.
I don't remember.
I will try to confirm that.
Yeah.
But I do know it's like captions are great, and so
Yeah.
I'll come away and find out, and I'll confirm with you, Dion.
Yeah.
And then Rula is asking, if you're putting a video in an email to send, is there a reason to add any more wording in the email or just the video and your signature at the bottom? This is a great question. And I would say you do not, as a best practice, want to just send a video on its own, because that's probably going to cause a lot of questions and concerns. And instead, you want to maximize the chance that someone's going to click play. And you do that by giving a little bit of context, sparking a bit of curiosity, and maybe proactively addressing some objections you think they may have, like, is this spam? Should I click on this? How long is this? Like, do I need 10 minutes to watch this video, or is it going to be 60 seconds? And so if you can say, hey, I made you this video, thought you might be interested because of X, it's 60 seconds long. Let me know what you think. That's perfect. Anything more though, and then they're going to say, well, now I don't need to click play because I get the gist of what you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Reva, thank you again. Really appreciate it. Just love our sessions. I think there's so much value here. So thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Yes, it was great as always. Thank you for all the questions, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of your videos.
Send them on over, everybody. We have until Monday. So send them over for sure. And then be sure that you join us on Tuesday for some Q&A. And again, when you are recording your video and sending it to us, if you do not want us to show your video, please include that in the email. Otherwise, we are going to assume that it's okay to share, okay? So thank you so much. Let's learn from each other. Go out there, make relationships, make it a good experience. Connect with Reva and I on LinkedIn if you haven't already. And if we can add any help or any value to what you're all doing, let us know.
Awesome. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye, everybody. You go ahead and disconnect and take a break before your next Zoom call or lunch or whatever you're doing. Thank you so much.